Yeah, doing the soundtrack for this film was quite a learning curve for me personally, and between starting and finishing, it was like, now I feel like I know what we're doing. So probably about halfway through that, I was like, oh yeah, this all makes sense now. So at the start, it was like a very sort of the steep learning curve, like a cliff face. In those movies where someone's trying to claw their way out of, like in The Wall, Pink Floyd, The Wall. He's up against the cliff face. And he's going, how do I get out of here? But yeah, the sound effects. Getting the sound effects together and the Foley was probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the film. Basically, Andrew showed me how it was done. So I've channeled Andrew since on how to do Foley and sound and sound design for films. Like in this very chair, I remember we're sitting here with this microphone, and Andrew's watching the screen, and he's wriggling around as Mandrak's getting in and out of the car and eating something and putting something down and getting it on 2 takes. It's like, oh wow, okay, so that's how it's done. Well, there's quite a few things that I would remember as highlights. So there's doing the Foley was one, and then there was this particular instance where Andrew was trying to recreate the sound of bashing a heavy ball against a pane of glass, and then did it so enthusiastically, actually smashed the piece of glass that we had and cut himself to shreds on that. So there was blood. There was blood and pain, but luckily we had a nurse on hand just down in the next house there, so we went down there and asked to borrow a cup of sugar, so to speak. When we were doing the ADR was fun times as well. So I remember Andrew and Cassia and I when Cassia was coming in to do her ADR, which was over about 3 or 4 sessions, we'd go up the road and have a cake up at the local coffee shop after doing all the biz. What I find sometimes is that when you're down in the trenches and you're digging away, you can't really see the big picture. You're just working on the technical aspects of what's right in front of you. So once we had all the ADR done, then it was like a movie then, and then some cuts were made and it was improved from that perspective. So once you get to view the movie the entire way through with all the ADR in, then it kind of, for me, sort of solidifies into what it really is going to be. When we went to the premiere of Blur and saw it for the first time in full on the big screen was a very satisfying moment for me, because up until then it was like, is it going to be right? And then we heard it and it was like, yes, it's right. So happy days.